All right, go ahead and flip this over to the back. That's where the math problems are. And let's find one that feels intimidating. So is there a problem that looks scary?
Every last one.
Okay, so which one should we do first? Number 8. Number 8 is the most scary. So for number 8, we actually need 2 other colors because there are 3 equations there. Yeah. So you might need like a pen, a pencil, and then a color. Okay, let's go ahead and graph the bottom inequality first because that is the hardest one. So, okay. So we have negative 4y is greater than 3x minus 8. Okay? And actually, not less than, it was greater than. And I'm just going to put an equal sign because all I'm doing right now is I'm just graphing the line. Okay. So if I'm trying to get this into y equals mx plus b so that I can graph it, what needs to happen? Yeah, I need to divide by the negative 4 because I'm trying to get the y alone, right? So I'm going to divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4. Okay, so my y is alone now. I've got just y. And then what's the fraction that I have with the x? Negative 3/4. Okay, so that's going to be my slope. Okay, and then on the end, I have a negative 8 that's being divided by a negative 4. Positive 2. Perfect. Okay, so that's the line that we're going to graph. So we've got a positive 2, starting up at positive 2. And from positive 2, where should we go? Down 3 to the right 4. So down 1, 2, 3 to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 2, 3 to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. And I ran out of space, so I'm going to do the same thing in the opposite direction, or the opposite thing. So I'm going to do up 1, 2, 3, left 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Is this connected with a solid or a dotted line? Dotted. So based on the sign, it did not have an equal sign, so it should be a dotted line. And you guys have rulers, but I didn't grab one, so I'm going to use paper. It's okay. I'm being lazy. This is pretty good. Okay. All right. So there is our line. Now, for now, we're just going to ignore the A and B. We don't need them yet. Okay, you'll see in a little bit what we're going to do with those. So we have this drawn. Now we have to figure out where to shade. Do you guys remember how we figure out where to shade? We test a point, and we want to pick a point that's easy to plug in. And so I usually pick points up here because they're positive, and that makes them easier to plug in because I'm lazy. Okay, so what point would you guys like to use? 1, 1? Now, 1, 1 is a little iffy only because it kind of looks like it might be on the line, but we're not really sure what side it's on. Does that make sense? So we want to pick a point where it's very clear if it's above the line or below the line. Okay, so if you do 1, 0, that's B exactly, and that's fine. We can choose that point. So we're going to choose point B, which is the point 1, 0. That's what we're choosing. 1, 0, which is the point B. So 1 is the x-coordinate, 0 is the y-coordinate, and so I'm going back to the original inequality, and I'm going to do negative 4 multiplied by y is greater than 3 multiplied by x minus 8. And what should I do? Negative 4 multiplied by 0 greater than 3 multiplied by 1 minus 8. So negative 4 multiplied by 0 is 0. 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. Is it true that 0 is bigger than negative 5? Yes, this is true. Okay, so point B right here is true. That means that points over here are going to be false. And so where should we shade? On the right side or on the left side? We should shade on the left side. Okay, and I'm not going to shade too dark because this grid is kind of light. I want to be able to see it. Okay, so I did this one in pencil, okay? Now I'm going to switch colors. And let's go ahead and do the next one. X is greater than negative 7. So for x is greater than negative 7, anytime you have one that only has one variable, it means that you're going to graph all the points that have that number for that coordinate. So x is greater than negative 7 is saying that every single point on the line has an x coordinate of negative 7. So I'm going to graph the point negative 7, positive 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Negative 7, positive 1. Negative 7, positive 3. Negative 7, positive 5. Negative 7, positive 7. Negative 7, negative 4. Negative 7, negative 10. So it's just saying that every single point on that line has an x coordinate of negative 7. That's what that's saying. Does that make sense? And once we graph those points, should we connect them with a solid line or a dotted line?
Solid.
Solid or dotted? Dotted. How do you know it's dotted? Yeah, it's a greater than, it doesn't have an equal to. And so this is a dotted line. Okay, so we'll do dotted. All right. And then, just like we did before, we have to pick a point that's on one side or the other of the line. And so which point do you guys want to pick to plug in? Something easy. What's going to be easy to plug in? 2, 2? 3, 2? So we'll say over 1, 2, 3, up 2. So there's the point 3, 2. We have x is 3, y is 2. And when I look at the inequality, I can only plug something in for x. There's no y to plug anything into. So I'm going to take the 3, I'm going to plug it in for x. 3 is greater than negative 7. Is it true that 3 is bigger than a negative number? Yes, that's true. Okay, so we're going to say the point is true. That means that this side of the line is true, and this side of the line is false. And so where do we shade? The right side. Chance, you want to get out your notes for me? Perfect. Okay, so now if we're comparing the first line and the third line, right in here, this is where all the answers are, and that means that if we were to take those points and plug them in, all the points in here would make the first line and the third line, they would make them true. At the same time, they would make them true. You could plug it into both. Okay, let's change to another color. And now we're going to do the second one. So the second one only has a y, and it has a 2. So it's saying that every single point on the line has a y coordinate of 2. So I can graph the point over 1 up 2, over 4 up 2, over 10 up 2, over 8 up 2, left 3 up 2, left 5 up 2. It says every single point on the line has a y coordinate of 2. That's what the second inequality means. Every single point has a y coordinate of 2. And when I draw those points, am I connecting them with a solid line or a dotted line? Solid or dotted? We gotta have a fight in the parking lot, figure it out. So how do we know? It's got an equal to sign, so we got a solid line. So you're guys saying we don't need to have a fight in the parking lot to figure it out? Could be fun. It'd be like, what are you guys fighting over? And you'd be like, we needed to decide in math if it was solid or dotted. Educational fight.
We're reading each other with the knowledge.
Yeah, yes. All right, so we've got the line. Now we have to pick a point to plug in. So what point do you guys want to use? 1, 3. Over 1, up 3, that's right here, just above the line. Okay. So over 1, up 3, got an x coordinate, got a y coordinate. So if we plug it in to the second inequality, did you have your notes done? Yes, marvelous. Okay, here's the assignment. Thank you, sir. Okay. If we plug this in, we do not have a place to plug in the x, we only have a place to plug in the y. So if we plug it in, we're going to put a number in for the y. We've got 3 is less than or equal to 2. Y is less than or equal to 2. Now, is that true or false? That is false. Okay, so I'm going to look at where the point is. The point is just above the line. The point is false. And so if the point is just above the line and is false, that means that just below the line is going to be true.
What's the F point?
False.
No, I mean, I know that.
Oh, it was 1, 3. It was just above the line. So that's false. This point is true. And so where do we shade? We shade down. Okay, so I'm going to shade this way. Okay. So now we want to be able to see where, for mine, it's the blue and the red and the pencil, where all of those are happening at the same time. And I'm going to go through and make it a little bit darker so you guys can see it. It is... oh, there's the pencil line. It's right in here. You guys see it? This is where all 3, this is like my triple shaded area. It's where all 3 are shaded at the same time. Yeah. So this is where the answers are. And what I mean when I say answers is that this is where, if you were to choose points in this area, these points would make all 3 of these inequalities true. If you plugged them in, you would get true, true, true. And that's what makes them answers, is they would all be true. Okay, now in this triple shaded area, you got to listen carefully. In this triple shaded area, if you had a point that was on the dotted blue line, if it was on the dotted blue line, it would be false. If you had a point that was on the dotted pencil line, it would be false. If you had a point that was on the solid red line, it would be true. But only if it was over here. If a point was on the solid red line over here, it would be false. So if you have a point that's on that triple shaded region and it hits a solid line, it's going to be true. But if it hits a dotted line, it's not going to be true. Does that make sense? Dotted lines are false. Solid lines are true. Right, Isaiah? You got your phone? You need to give me your phone? No? Because it either looks like you're just chilling looking at your left hand or looking at your phone. We good? So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip the paper over and look at number 8. Number 8 says we have to figure out if the answers that work are point A and B, or if it's only point B, or if A and B are both not answers. So we're going to look in that triple shaded area, and we're going to see which points can be answers. So are both A and B in the triple shaded area? Are neither of them in the triple shaded area? Or is only B in the triple shaded area? Only B. So we'll flip it back over. Only B is in the triple shaded area. And so we just learned something about Che Guevara. He traveled to Bolivia to promote more revolution, but was captured by the local army and the CIA, and he was executed. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, now we just did probably the hardest problem because we just did the only one that has 3. All right, how are your brains feeling about that? We can do one more. Which one should we do? Number 3? Yeah? Okay. All right, jump up to number 3. So how do we start the first inequality? We start at -3. 1, 2, 3. And then from there, we have a slope of -2. Braden, bring up your phone. Phone. You on your phone? Put the laptop away. It shouldn't be out. Slope of -2, what do we do? Down 2 over 1. So -2, the whole number, if you write it as a fraction, is -2 over 1. So we're going to go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. And then I ran out of room, and so I'm going to do the same thing but in the opposite direction. So I'm going to go up to left 1, up to left 1. I just hit A, so A is going to be on my line. Up to left 1, up to left 1, up to left 1, up to left 1. Okay. Now, is this a solid or a dotted line? Dotted? Okay. Now, based on the fact that this is a dotted line, can A be an answer? No. A is definitely not going to be an answer. It doesn't even matter where my shading is. As soon as we see A is on a dotted line, A cannot be an answer. Does that make sense? Points on dotted lines are never answers. Okay, so now what do we have to do? Pick a point, plug it in, and see if that point is true or false. So what point would you guys like to plug in? Which one? 1, 1. So we're going to use the point 1, 1. It's right here. We got 1 for x and 1 for y. So I'm going to say y is less than -2 times 1 minus 3. Okay. -2 times 1 is -2. -2 minus 3, -5. Okay. Is it true that a +1 is less than a negative? A positive is less than a negative. A positive is not less than a negative. That is false. Yeah. Okay, so a positive is not less than a negative. This is a false statement. So this point is false. And if this side is false, that means this side is true. So we shade on the left. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch colors. So you've got to be really careful when you do this assignment because it's going to be very easy to mess up if you're moving too fast, okay? All right, so for the second inequality, where do we start? We start at 2. And then where do we go from there? Up 1 to the right 2. So we have a slope of 1/2. So we're going to go up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2. Okay? And then I ran out of room, so I'm going to do it to the left. Down 1 to the left 2, down 1 to the left 2. Okay. And I have my points drawn. Am I connecting them with a solid line or with a dotted line? Solid. It has an equal to, so that means it's a solid line. Well, now, if I look at these two lines, they cross at point A. Is A a solution? No. No, because A is still on a dotted line. I know, right? They're trying to trick you. A might be on the solid blue line, but it is still on the dotted pencil line. So since it's on a dotted pencil line, it can't be a solution. The dotted pencil line ruined it for everybody. Does that make sense? Dotted pencil line means it ruined it for everybody. Okay, let's pick a point to plug in. 2, 2? Okay. So 2, 2 is right here. It's just barely below the line, so we're going to use 2 for x, 2 for y. So we have y is less than or equal to 1/2 multiplied by the x value plus 2. That's a lot of 2's. So we've got 2 is less than or equal to, what is 1/2 of 2? 1. 1 plus 2. And what's 1 plus 2? 3. 2 is less than or equal to 3. True or false? True. Okay. So the point 2, 2 is true. That means the other side of the line is false. And so which way do we shade? We shade on the bottom part. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to make my double shaded area a little bit darker so you guys can see it pretty well. So this right in here, this is where my answers are. Now, anything in this area, all of these are answers. The points on the dotted line are not answers. The points on the solid line are answers. If we have a place where a dotted line and a solid line cross, the dotted line ruined it for everybody. And so that point can't be a real answer. Okay, so we know A is not an answer. Now before we flip the paper over, is B an answer? B is an answer. Okay, let's flip it over, look at number 3. A cannot be an answer. A and B cannot be an answer, so it is only B. Guevara was extremely intelligent and had a wide range of academic interest. At the University of Buenos Aires, he studied medicine. Oh, interesting. Cool. All right, so I'm going to let you guys work on this. If you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around and give every single person a sheet of graph paper so that if you don't finish this in class and you go home and you mess up one of your answers, you have a sheet of graph paper and you can do it over again, okay? So for any of these, if you happen to accidentally do the problem wrong, you'll have the sheet of graph paper to be able to try it again. All right, so don't stress too much, but I do, if you ruin it, I don't want, it's going to be very confusing on the same grid to try to do it twice. So if you do mess up the problem, I would rather have you just completely start over again than try to like white it out or something like that. Make sense? Okay.